Welcome to our show, Lead to Scale. The podcast is sponsored by Algo AI Partners. We help IT services and technology companies like yourselves solve scaling and talent challenges using smart AI solutions. Now, if you want to book a free consultation to find out more, click the link below in the description of the show. Thank you. All right, today I'm excited to be speaking with Allen from Sunman Engineering, someone with deep leadership experience in the IT services space, a astronaut hobbyist pursuist, and we're going to explore his journey and how Sunman is navigating growth and talent and some of the big shifts shaping the industry right now. Thank you, Allen, for joining us once again. As we start, could you share your journey in this space and what led you to Sunman Engineering?
Absolutely. Well, first, I thank you for inviting me to your podcast. I appreciate that. Um, so, uh, yeah, as a kid, I wanted to always, for some reason, I wanted to have a own a, uh, airplane manufacturing company, and I always been interested to be an astronaut. Of course, I'm not astronaut yet, but something in my bucket that I haven't achieved yet. But that's my goal, and I know I will do that eventually, hopefully soon. Somebody will need someone to go out there, so I be volunteer and I keep myself healthy and all that to be ready. So that's kind of sort of yeah how I was interested. And as a matter of fact, now indirectly I'm working with you know number of different projects that has to do with satellites, aircrafts, uh, cars, automobiles. You know, I do, you know, many consumer electronics, a lot of home automation, a lot of IoT stuff. So, yeah, I end up doing it pretty much, what I kind of dreamed and what I was looking for in a different way. But yeah, I'm there. I enjoy it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. For the listeners on the call, Alan here is not joking when he says he's keeping himself fit. If I may share, he's been playing soccer first division till the age of 57 himself. So he's been keeping himself very fit, very young, and that's inspirational. That you've got a way to tie back to your childhood dreams through a business that you've pursued, and now many other businesses that you're looking into. Now, so what's been the most significant change you've observed in the industry? Now, naturally, you've got a wealth of experience, and so this question may be a little big, and I'm happy for you to story tell as you feel. But what's the biggest shift you've seen in the industry since you started?
Well, there were number of big shifts, past 34, 35 years, for sure. I seen it from very early, uh, when I was in at school, punching cards to now what we talk to machine, a huge hit leap. So no, there were a number of different uh, new things. And if I may, let me just explain how that works out. Maybe, that's a good discussion. So generally, uh, just like uh, stars, the new stars always, born, right? So what happens is that as technologies get mature and, get to certain points and series of them, you know, number of different technologies get matured. And I, as an example, IoT, for IoT, we require, different type of sensors, different type of communication protocols and devices like Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, 5G, whatsoever, uh, and other type of components that, back maybe, 2000, we did not, or even 2000, early 2000, we didn't have any of or most of these. So as they get mature, then a new baby born, a new technology gets born from that. So, out of all these sensors, out of all these, different protocols, different wireless protocols and so on, IoT came out, right? And then now with IoT, with now, if you go to AI, then, I can maybe tell you how we got from, how many different technology now has been combined that now we have AI technology. So that's what's going on. So we need a whole bunch of different technology. So generally every 7 years, that's the evolution we have. Every 7 years, we have maturity of different technologies and then new things, like At some point, database was so important, and everybody after database and the storage. And some point is so every time is, but and everybody will grow at the same time as they grow eventually.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I know, I mean, the internet and the dot-com boom was huge, and a lot of the folks are, referring to the AI, something similar in that regard, that it's also seismic, it's big. Many people back in the dot-com were like, it's a fade. I know there were many headlines that came out said it's passing, and now there's no business without a website, right? And so I can appreciate how there are waves of changes that come through. I saw your recent post on how AI is transforming mechanical engineering, and I was curious actually whether you've personally seen a mindset shift amongst either your clients, your engineers, your team in adopting these tools compared to earlier in your journey.
So if I may, let me maybe first, at least from my point of view, what is AI is, okay, and from that understanding, then I can go to any application, and one could be one you describe, right? So uh, if we if I want to utilize basic AI is a smart interface between human and machine. Now I go back to past. I go back, 1990s, 80s. I don't know. We had mouse, right? Mouse. We interact with mouse with the computer, right? Keyboard. We interact with the keyboard, right? Now the next level was voice activation. Okay, the next level of interfacing was, and actually, that was generally came in through automobile need and interacting with the cars and all that. So we had voice activation, right? And voice word vocabulary activation. So those are like fixed commands. Then we had speech recognition. So we could actually talk a complete sentence, and the machine would understand that complete sentence. So that's a speech recognition. And we had that. As a matter of fact, I'm one of the ones, believe it or not, I'm one of the ones that got into this field. As a matter of fact, part of my car connected technology, one of our application was Genie, and Genie was even more smarter than Alexa today. And we have a video. I invite anybody that does not believe me. We have a half an hour video of our technology that we recorded back in 2009 on Genie. When you're talking to
That's very cool.
communicating when you communicate into car and how it responds to you, and I'd be happy to give you that link, and anybody
Yeah,
can
please
go
do.
to
Please do.
yeah, I will send that to you later on, and I'd be happy to share that. More than welcome to share that. So going back to AI, really, after speech recognition, now we have sentence that we understand, machines understand. Now the next level, now that we are now called AI, they call it AI. It's a whole paragraph, the whole paragraph of like it understands the whole thing, and based on that, now machines gets to understand the whole sentence, the whole paragraph. Now we can actually start communicating with the machine. Okay. Now, because the machines have so much power of the speed, mainly, they can work much, 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 much faster than our brain. They can go collect all sort of information from all over
Yeah.
and come back with its result for us. So that's what AI is,
Yeah.
right? So now, going back to your original question, when you're talking to how this is going to help mechanical design, it really helps anything. Helps lawyers, helps accountants, helps mathematicians, helps everybody. Basically, you communicate to, you, you ask it, and then it goes, and now it understands it. So that's what AI is now, right? So, so now I can, when I'm wanted to design some sort of whatever mechanical, I can always go and assist AI to it, and it can bring me collective of designs, and it's very interesting. It's very intelligent, of course. It can, most of can even pick the best design for you and so
Mm,
on. I mean, I'm going to the extreme.
for
It's
sure.
not happening yet, but basically, uh, that's how it's affecting. And 40 years, that was like 36, 7 years ago when I was doing printed circuit board design uh, as a as an engineer, uh, and I seen how it's been made. I had no doubt machines are going to make machines because I seen it 40 years ago.
Right.
40 years ago was happening. Now it's just they're getting smarter and smarter. So basically, eventually we're going to have, you know, that's another subject, but robots and so on.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's at the end of the day, what you're describing is the adoption and the adaptation that comes with this new technology that comes through. And I'm sure people said the same thing about the dot-com boom when they came through. You go further back, there were technologies that came around, right? Horse carriages to now automobiles. And so while new technology does come through and does take time to mature, I think it also ends up replacing some of the jobs that it ends up simplifying, but it opens up a lot more in terms of then to be able to take care of what that technology looks like, to take it from an immature to a mature state, so to speak. So you're absolutely right. That's fascinating. And so curious, with under your leadership with the Sunman Engineering and the advent of technology, one way to look at it is you've capitalized on this with expanding into the IoT medical devices, looking at robotic features. And there's a lot of integration of, technology, be it, IoT related or dare I say AI. And that's a huge evolution. And so I'm curious now, as we look into this, how has Sunman Engineering evolved under your leadership?
So, you know, I'm a big believer of, automation, and the end result is really robots because now mechanical, there's, all the mechanical science and technology and devices and all these little things that we need for, for make putting robots to get, it's coming, it's there
Yeah.
now. All the electronics is there now, so it's no brainer, and we have machines that it can talk to us, can understand us, and we have dogs that they run in the mountains and they can, I mean, we have everything now, right? It's just matter of adoption and bring it in and utilize in a good way. And yeah, I'm a big believer in that, and I see it very clearly in my, next 5, 10 years, we're all going to have a robot, if not in our home, most likely at our workplace, or every place that we go, restaurants and so on. So yeah, that's why we kind of wanted to be involved and get the leadership in that area.
Yeah, no, that's huge. I see you capitalizing on that, especially with your, rich experience. And so, if we were to now double click a little bit into what it takes to be Alan within Sunman Engineering and the visionary that you've got behind this, because you said it yourself, you saw this wave in pieces coming through, many, many years back. The example being Genie, the example being you saw machines making machines. I'd love to sort of nitpick a little bit, get a little deeper in terms of what are your key focus areas today? And what does your responsibilities look like today if we think about it day to day?
Uh, right now, I'm pretty committed on a couple of projects, and one of them being the home assist and automation for elderly and also for infant. Uh, this is for safety, security, efficiency, entertainment, health. Uh, we can look into, we can get to know people. We can get to know their habit. We can, help them, advise them, guide them, remind them. We can sense their motion. Uh, we can play sort of different games application to make them feel better. Be positive, bring positivity to environment. There's other things that I cannot at this point talk, but we have amazing stuff that I'm
Yeah.
working on. That that it's really future. It's really things that you see in movies and so on. I'm bringing those to life now, and it's going to happen the next 2 years. We're gonna have a lot of those in the market, and we're going to be actually start pre-selling them by early next year, as a matter
Oh,
of fact.
amazing. That's not too long ago. That's less than 6 months away. That's very exciting. And so as you run your business, then I'm curious, you mentioned the area of home assist, and I'm sure there's a bunch of other spaces within Sunman Engineering. What are some of the metrics that you track most closely for business success?
So there's few sciences now that really help us to be able to work on multiple different application. Uh, since we are very electromechanical, we are very mechanically oriented. We are our expertise are in electronic development, in all sort of different applications. Uh, we are very strong in communication when it comes to IoT, how to network communicate, how to best efficiency make systems to be able to communicate to each other and all that. Uh, so and based on our experience working with number of different industries, and I give you an example, like say we work on some aerospace application that we some airflow situation, uh, and then we may be working on some medical application that we say, oh wow, this could actually apply here. It's like, we can really bring things from that we learn, we experience from another industry to different industry that, it makes us look good and people think we're very smart, but it's really we transferring,
Yeah.
knowledge from, and making improvements in overall products and knowledge base and so
That's
on.
fascinating. That's incredible. So really, what you're saying is you're looking at cross applications across the industries for a similar use case, be it a sensor in one space to then a sensor in a different space. And that's a very interesting way to drive product innovation because then you're tapping into a pain point that has not been viewed in that particular way unless you've tested it in a particular space.
I mean, you have some experience and so on. And generally, product development in general has, three, four components, and one being mechanical, one being electronics, one being firmware,
Mm,
software, one being application. And, you know, we are very strong on, on all four. I would say, we could be, we're expanding on our application side, firmware side more, but we're definitely very strong on the hardware side, on the mechanical side, on the
yeah.
electronic side.
So I can definitely see that there's a lot of breadth that's happening in terms of how you're using your use cases. Curious to learn if you were to pick top three, top two, doesn't matter, top two or three things that you would measure for the success of your business, what would that be?
Commitment, uh, respect to people and customer. Uh, and honestly, I think the reason we've been in business uh, for this many years, it's just because we've been very upfront with everybody, very, you know, with a lot of integrity, and we always try to add value. We always make money, don't get me wrong. Okay, we always make money, but we always make sure that we provide the value that the customer deserves, and we give them a lot of respect.
Got you. Yeah, no, I think that's very helpful advice because I mean, with if I was to take a very narrow lens of what we see today, even with AI, and if I was to go on a side tangent just a moment, like the AI is sold as a product that can solve any problems. But like you were saying, the evolution of technology is we had voice, which was a word, that word evolved into a sentence, and AI is now a paragraph. In a paragraph, you have context, and that context is, I think, the next step to evolve AI to be able to actually integrate into businesses to deliver a smart solution that's relevant. And I see that ethos carry forward when you have what does your customer deserve? What's the value they need and how you prioritize that? I think that goes a very long way. That's very helpful and very insightful. Thank you for sharing that. And so now, as we look into this, beyond your customers and your own business, what trends are you seeing within the services market right now? The electrical and mechanical engineering or the IT services market?
Honestly, I feel, technology segments are very strong since 2015. Actually, we had a new evolution happening starting 2015, uh, and that's goes back to maturity of technologies. We have whole tons of, I shouldn't say tons, whole bunch of different technology that got mature by 2015 that brought in whole bunch of new babies, not just one. Okay. And so there is a lot of demand now from all over the world for new things, for next things. Not because people want it, it's for comfort, health wise, right? Surgery. Somebody have a cancer, right? They're looking for solutions. So it's a need of people, right? It's a need of so we are at the arena now. Again, that's my opinion, my gut feeling. But we are in arena now that it's a it's a growth of technology. And actually, I've been saying this, and so far I've been correct. So by 2035, it's where we have all robots everywhere in our homes. Life is going to be much easier. Uh, Hopefully, the world is going to be more calm, and hopefully, this help everyone uh, to a point that we can have a better life with help of technology, and we see it. Everything by technology has been
Yeah.
improving.
Okay, that's interesting. So what I'm hearing you say is when we look at the trends around, it's really capitalizing on the maturity of technology that's already come through. Is a big message that you're sort of observing in terms of the trends.
Well, I give
Yeah.
you one example. I give you one example that is so huge that is going to take next 10, 15, 20 years and a lot of human interaction and help and jobs. Cars that going to be autonomous, right? Cars that going to be driving with
Hmm.
no drivers, totally automated at the highways and all that. It's coming another 5 to 10 years again. Look at the impact. All these cars have to redo. All these cars have to go out, and new cars have to. All the roads have to be redone. The future is all, cars communicating to cars, cars communicating to roads, to signs, to ambulance, to fire trucks, to police cars. So that's when we have, yeah. So I mean, there's so much happening. There's so
Yeah.
much work for
And so as
everybody.
part of this, I know technology is one piece, and we were alluding this to earlier that generally, the conception around technology AI is, we hear this a lot. Oh, I'm going to lose my job. And then when you look at what's happening, like you're mentioning with the recent events of the stock market and, Trump's approach to the different policies, be it, his infamous approach of trying to make or bring in manufacturing or bring in work within the border, within his borders. You had a very interesting post, I think, on your LinkedIn in July that framed outsourcing in a really interesting way, especially around scalability and flexibility. And it's about, seeing how you can best leverage outsourcing to be able to drive business needs, or said differently, help business focuses on what matters to them while outsourcing the things that are, supplementary or help augment business. So I'm curious, are you seeing that model become more normalized now, especially post COVID, especially leveraging the technologies we see?
Absolutely, yeah. There's more independence. There's more capability and different things for everybody out there to be able to connect to everywhere, to anywhere. Like, one person now can act as a company and act, you can act as your lawyer now, act as your,
Yeah.
uh, you know, there's so much can be done. There's so much can be done. So, yeah, there would be a lot of uh, contracting, and I totally agree with you. I think, there's a lot of opportunity. Just you need to be it's very important. The business you go into, you gotta understand
Yeah.
your business. You cannot go into business and not knowing what you're doing, right? You gotta be knowledgeable about what you're providing, what service is, what expertise you're providing. But uh, I I see a lot of friends, that they start different, businesses, and in no time th- it takes 2, 3 years, but they
Yeah.
make it. It's hard. It's not easy. there's
For
a lot of
sure. And you're
challenges.
absolutely right. I mean, I think it takes a little bit of grit and time for businesses to come through, but you got to know your business, you got to know your customers, you got to know what you're delivering. And so when I ask this, question comes to mind, and I'm curious to hear how you approach this. The trends that we see in the IT market, it's prevalent. I'm curious, how do you stay ahead of your competitive landscape, especially with all the things that are happening?
That's a very good question. Again, we sort of, again, it's not because we are smart people or anything, just really experience. We see what's happening in the next 5 years. It's like to us, to me, it's kind of, I can see the 5 years what's happening. So for us, it's kind of normal to kind of see what's coming and try to be focused on that and try to go out, get involved and help in that segment. So I think that's how we kind of, fi- actually we want to lead it. Sunman Engineering, it's one of the very first company in the world that has actually have came up with the IoT product. We work with the with the project with MIT back in 2008, I believe, if I remember 2000. And I believe the end customer was Adidas, but anyway, we were making a small device that we put, at least we were told that we put it in the ball, basketball, and we want to see the bonds and how it works, and eventually end up into the shoe, and that was in 2008, and no one done anything like that, or even before that, uh, 2000, 2005 through 2008, when we brought a whole bunch of different technology and products for connected car. uh, we actually, as a matter of fact, I don't know how much time we have or not. 4G was introduced by Sunman Engineering to the world, believe it or not. 4G came, the very 4G came to market was by Intel, called WiMAX. And Intel had no idea what to do with 4G because, everybody wants to talk on the phone. What do you want to do? You want to talk, that's it, right? They had really no application to showcase their 4G. So at the time that I was doing my connected car technology, I was working with the CTO of Intel, their wireless communication, who was in charge of their 4G and all that. And I offered them to demo their 4G, bring the 4G into the car, and I wanted that actually. That's how, for now cars can be automated and all that, right? So as a matter of fact, I have a patent on that, bringing internet to the car,
That's very
and
cool.
that's my patent, and that patent is, and that's one of the patent out of other things we've done, and that patent is licensed to over 2,000 different
Yeah.
companies all over the world. 2014, all the cars came in, they will equipped it with the internet, 4G.
That's incredible. I did not know that actually. That's very cool.
Uh, Yeah, so that's one of my companies we established back in 2005. And unfortunately, we had to close the business in 2010 or 11 because we were too early into the market, unfortunately. And, and by the way, that's not a good thing. Timing is everything. Timing is the most important. Yeah, it's not to be too much,
Yeah.
ahead of the game. So we ran out of money, but, we sold the technologies and, license some of them and all that.
That's
But
very
yeah.
fascinating, fascinating sort of juxtaposition because when talking about how do you stay ahead of competition, it's about the vision, what comes 5 years ahead or 3 years ahead. But then there's a very fine balance of you can't jump that. You need to be able to time it a little bit. And so there's an interesting balance that comes into play. That's incredible. And so I know a lot of this around tech, around clients and customers. I'd like to dig a little bit within. Sunman Engineering themselves, especially around the lens of talent. Because naturally, in this day and age, with how quick things have evolved, talent too is one of those common problems that we're hearing in terms of attracting the talents or keeping the talents or even finding the talents. So I'm curious, as you've seen in the last few years, what's your approach been to be attract and retain top talent?
So one of the most important thing to me is to, you know, people I work with, they're my family. All right. Frankly, I spend more time with, with, my family here than my first family. Now I spend, 10, 12 hours here, in average 10 hours, right? Uh, by the time I go home, go to sleep, probably I spend 2, 3 hours with my family, right? So really, these guys are my family, and I truly treat them like my family, and to best I can, and it comes back. It comes back and it reflects and it works.
That's
It really
huge. And
does.
so I'm curious, just so the audience can also have a sense of how big your team is, how many people do you have today under Sunming Engineering?
Yeah, about 25 people
That's a big family.
that we work with.
Yeah, what challenges have you faced in building your team or keeping your team?
So that's a very good question. That's a very good question, especially for your audience. So at some point, we had 35 and at some point 50 people in my office. We had like 4 or 5 engineers sitting in one office, sharing same tables, and engineers. That's when we were developing the car technology. Uh, uh, but my point, what I want to tell you, being in business, you should expect a lot of up and downs. There's no always ups. If anybody thinks, oh, up, 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 I mean, if it's like that, then you have a gold mine. That's great. That's wonderful. But normally, normal businesses, there's a lot of up and downs. Every few years, there are times that, for many different reasons, many different reasons out of your control, things can not, go the way you planned or things that the most important thing is to stay there, be committed, and like what you're doing. And it's hard. It's very tough. There were times that I pulled my hair. You know, uh,
No, no, it's okay. I totally get it. I mean, I've said the other folks that I've spoken to, I think the sentiment is the same. There are times where it gets tough.
a lot. No, yeah, it's a lonely job, if you want to be a entrepreneur, if you want to own a business, the very, very lonely job. You're responsible for everything, and everybody comes to you.
I'd say
Yeah,
thank you for sharing that because I can see that there are words that are left unsaid here, given the emotion behind it, and I think that that's huge, especially for a seasoned entrepreneur like yourself. And that's something I think perhaps a conversation for another time. But the key piece here that you're sharing that I think is very insightful is it's going to get tough because that's part of the nature. It goes up and down, and it sounds like the key success to how you've addressed those challenges have been honesty as how you sort of speak to your team.
and I think luck is always part of the formula. I don't care what you say. Luck is always there, and thanks God, we've been well blessed, and at worst case, we always got
Yeah,
somehow got
yeah, no,
lucky and
that's
came back.
incredible. And so you shared a little bit how at one point it was 50 and then now or 35 or 50, now it's 25. And so, curious, how do you measure the success of team performance, especially given that, you yourself are involved in different sort of different ventures, both under Sunman Engineering and others? Because I know, and this goes back to the same, you're very active on LinkedIn, and so that was very fun material. So for the audience, please go check out Alan's, Sunming Engineering's LinkedIn profile. Very insightful articles there. You mentioned a little bit about choosing the right development partner, and you mentioned culture fit and vision alignment, which naturally you've touched on here as well. You treat your team as a family and vice versa. Vision is what drives you. So I come back to that question of how do you measure the success of team performance?
Honestly, whenever I hire anybody, personality is it's most important for me. The person's got to be there. Uh, I got to be comfortable. with the person, and I got to feel that nothing to hide, and that's what I'm looking for. And then my belief is that no matter what, people always learn. And most of our people, they're 7 to 10 years with us.
So really, it comes down to a culture fit, is what it sounds like, but also having that willingness to learn and the intrinsic motivation to be able to like figure things out. So that way, there's growth both at the Sunman Engineering level, growth at the individual level, and growth at the team level as well.
Absolutely. And please don't get me wrong. There's no way you can satisfy
For sure.
100% everybody because, there's always, challenges and mistakes and errors, and, you have
Yeah.
to deal with
I
it.
mean,
But
I think that goes without saying
yeah,
because the comment you made that, on being an entrepreneur is very lonely. It sounds like those two are connected because there are going to be decisions you make that are yours to make, whether or not they agree or not. And how they pan out, it's a different question altogether. Curious to understand, what are your goals for the next 6 to 12 months? I know you mentioned that there's projects that you kind of mentioned about pre-sales coming up. Beyond that, what are the goals for the next 6 to 12 months?
so right now I'm very focused on that area, uh, just to get that done. And then, we have a couple other projects in mind that needs to be done. And everything I do is related with each other. It's kind of, it's of each other. So I don't jump in from one thing completely from, I sort of, everything's kind of stack up. So
So immediate focus is on the project's short term with the pre-sale coming out. That's exciting. I'll definitely be keeping a tab on that. It sounds like you've had an incredible journey so far. I this is a question I love to ask personally. If you had a magic wand that could fix one thing that's slowing you down, what would it be?
that's interesting. Well,
Yeah,
there's
so
a
spit
number
them
of
out. I'd love to hear
it.
them.
Focus is very important, and that's what I'm trying to be. Like you asked me a few minutes ago, like a second ago. Yeah. So I try to be more focused, and I'm hoping in next few years I downgrade my many projects to only few, so I can. And that's really important. When you more focus in one subject, you can
Mm,
take it much farther, much farther. So
gotcha.
and that's my goal, honestly.
I think this has been a riveting conversation. As we come to an end to this podcast, Alan, thank you again for sharing your journey and the work you've been doing at Sunman Engineering and beyond with all your other projects. It's been a great mix of hands on innovation, practical leadership, and strategic foresight from Alan. So, once again, thank you. And I also thank a lot of our listeners for staying tuned. I think a lot of you are going to have real benefit from the way you experience this, especially around how you take away from technology and adapt to the business needs. That brings us to the end of this episode. This podcast is sponsored by Algo AI Partners. We help IT services and technology companies solving scaling and talent challenges using smart AI solutions. If you want to book a free consultation to find out more, please click the link below in the show description.